Welcome to the Baseball Pregame Show, presented by Import Minded, your trusted choice for exceptional vehicle care on South 27th, just north of 894. Tonight, the defending AL champs are in town as Milwaukee hosts Toronto.
Oh, Gary sends one out of here.
We'll preview tonight's matchup on the mound.
I don't know how many innings I'm going to go, obviously, but yeah, I mean, just kind of going out there and just letting it eat.
Thoughts on the lineup?
Yeah, we got a good lineup. We got guys who are going to get on base, steal bases, play good defense.
And all of the storylines heading into tonight's game.
You see the way we battle back, and the way we battle back again, as decimated as we are with injuries. And what they showed me tonight is there's a lot of fighting.
So let's get to it.
I mean, we have the best fans in the world.
Here is your host, Hunter Baumgardt.
Well, the Brewers will try to snap the streak again. They are trying to snap now a 6-game losing streak as they come into tonight 8-8 on the season. The Toronto Blue Jays come in 7-9. It's game 2 of this 3-game series at American Family Field. And good to have you along for the ride as we get you set for Brewers and Blue Jays in Milwaukee. Last night, the Brewers had a 4-3 lead in the 9th inning. Then the Toronto Blue Jays scored 3 runs in the 9th inning. Then the Brewers scored 2 runs to tie the game at 6, send it to extras, and then they lost 9-7 in 10 innings, and the losing streak continues. They were 3 outs away from getting that losing streak to be snapped, but unfortunately it would not happen last night. Want to hear from you on the NicoletLaw.com talk and text line at 877-794-1973. Also on our YouTube, Facebook, and X channels, YouTube, Fox Sports Radio, Wisconsin. Also, of course, Facebook as well as X at FSRWI. Want to hear from you there. Go Team 122 already commenting on YouTube. Bring us the formula for a win. Hey, well, let's try to decipher that as the show goes on, right? Because it's like score a lot of runs. Well, they've scored 6+ runs the last couple of games. Didn't win you a game. Starting pitching, that's been actually pretty decent, right? Brandon Woodruff had a nice start on Sunday. Jacob Mizorowski had a nice start last night. Didn't win you the game. The bullpen has been what's causing some of this strife for the Milwaukee Brewers. I think you could blame, if you want to play the blame game, so to speak, Sunday's loss was probably on the bullpen. Last night's loss on the bullpen. So we'll get to the bullpen in just a moment. Chad Patrick on the mound for the Milwaukee Brewers tonight, 1-0 with a 0.73 ERA. Dylan Cease, a tough customer on the mound for the Toronto Blue Jays. The right-hander is 0-0, so no record yet. 2.45 ERA so far. We'll get into more of their details coming up in a bit. We'll also get into Pat Murphy's comments both last night. I know that has gone quite viral, of him talking about how he didn't like the fans booing Trevor McGill in the 9th inning last night. We'll get into that. We'll get in what he said today, talking about those comments with us just a bit ago at American Family Field. We'll also get into what Pat Murphy said about the closer's role today. Will Trevor McGill still be the closer of this team? We'll hear from Pat Murphy in just a moment. But first, want to start our show like we always do with the starting lineups. And let's get you those right now. The Toronto Blue Jays, again, come in with a record of 7-9, coming off the win last night over the Brewers. Their lineup sets up just like this. The defending AL champs will have Nathan Lukes lead off in right field. Batting second in center field, Dalton Varsho. Batting third at first base, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Cleanup hitter, left fielder, Jesus Sanchez. DH is going to bat fifth, Kazuma Okamoto. I should say. Batting sixth at third base, Ernie Clement. Batting seventh at shortstop, Andres Jimenez. Batting eighth at second base, Lenin Sosa. And batting ninth behind the plate, Brandon Valenzuela. So for the Blue Jays, it's Lukes, Varsho, Guerrero Jr., Sanchez, Okamoto, Clement, Jimenez, Sosa, and Valenzuela. That is the starting lineup for the Toronto Blue Jays. How about for the Milwaukee Brewers? And you're going to recognize this lineup because it's nearly the exact same. But again, they have used a different lineup in now 17 different games because Sal Frelick is leading things off in right field. William Contreras behind the plate doing the catching, batting second. Batting third at second base, Bryce Terang. Cleanup hitter, DH Gary Sanchez. Batting fifth at first base, Jake Bowers. That has all been the same as last night. However, Brandon Lockridge in the lineup instead of Luis Matos. He will play in left field. Garrett Mitchell will bat seventh in center field. Joey Ortiz batting 8th at shortstop, and David Hamilton batting 9th at third base. So for the Brewers, it's Frelick, Contreras, Terang, Sanchez, Bowers, Lockridge, Mitchell, Ortiz, and Hamilton. So what will the Brewers do tonight? How will they snap the 6-game losing streak? Well, I think we can go back to last night and kind of maybe tell the story of why this losing streak has continued. Kevin chiming in on Facebook saying, I actually thought the Brewers played better last night, a lot better. Hitting was better and overall vibe was better. It was, and you were 3 outs away from a win. If McGill gets 3 outs in the 9th inning, we're having a lot different discussion today with a 9-7 ball club rather than an 8-8 ball club. And in football, 9-7 can get you in the playoffs, while 8-8 sometimes, most of the time, doesn't. So, look, that's an NFL season, and there's still 147 games remaining in the 2026 season for the Milwaukee Brewers. But yeah, there were some good things to see last night in the ball game. However, what happened after the game stole the headlines, I think. And that started with Pat Murphy telling us in the media auditorium at American Family Field that he wasn't quite pleased with the fans booing Trevor McGill in the 9th inning as he was blowing the save.
But the fans booing him after he saved 30 games for this team, a kid that's been through all that he's been through and what he did the year before for us to help us win the division, and then what he did last year, and then came out with an arm injury and still pitched and pitched one of the biggest innings of the Game 5. And for them to be booing him up there, that's just not our best fans, that's for sure. We have the great fans. But let's remind them of that. Are they okay to be disappointed? But sometimes young men go through tough stuff. I was disappointed in that those people wouldn't support him when he's going through that stuff. Does he probably care? No. Is it expected? That's fine. But let's not be, these aren't machines out there. These are people. And I thought that was in poor taste, but I've done things in poor taste too, so I'll forgive him.
I thought it was interesting how he ended that, right? He's kind of like, I said what I said. It was in poor taste, but I do forgive them in the end, right? They're ticket buying fans at the end of the day. I think everyone can be right in this scenario. Pat Murphy's defending his player as he should, and these quotes aren't wrong. McGill was a huge part of the success of this team the last couple of seasons. However, the fans paid their tickets and they can boo, right? And I know this has gotten a lot of discourse online and a lot of people saying certain things and either for what Pat Murphy said or against. Fans paid their tickets and can do, whatever they want as long as they're not obviously hurting themselves or others, right? But I think should fans boo is another story. I understand that's probably the natural reaction, right? When your team blows a 4-3 lead in the 9th inning and your team is already on a 5-game losing streak. You're at risk of losing the 6th straight game, right? It's not fun. It's not fun in that moment to be giving up 3 runs in the 9th inning. And that's kind of the gut reaction is to boo, right? However, I think it is key, like Murph said, to look at that bigger picture, right? Trevor McGill, an all-star last year. This team won 97 games with him as their closer last year. This team won 97 games last year, period. They got off to an 8-2 start. And look, I think the kind of approach that I like to see this, and we're not to this level yet. But remember when Trey Turner got the standing ovation in 2023 when he was going through a big slump, and instead of booing, they came out and showed a big support of him. Got a standing ovation from the Philly faithful, right? Now, I'm not saying we're to that point with Trevor McGill, but I think it's interesting to at least ask ourselves before booing, like, what's going to help in that scenario? Sure, again, ticket buying fans, you can boo. I'm not telling you not to boo, but I think the other side of that is referencing what Pat Murphy just said, and that these guys are humans and not machines. So I think there are two sides, and I think everyone can be right. I think Pat Murphy's right. I think the fans have the right to boo. Should you boo? That's up to you. I wouldn't necessarily do it, but I get in that part of the game. there's a part of being a fan that is expressing frustration, and the team is frustrating right now. But I also say, keep the bigger picture in mind. Hopefully this is just a blip on the radar in the 2026 season. And this team was not in a good spot early last year either. And we all know how last year turned out and how successful this team has been, especially after an 8-2 start. So I know they're 8-8 right now, and it's kind of wild to think that they've lost 6 in a row. I would not have thought that they'd be losing 6 in a row. I haven't done it since 2023. But I think that bigger picture and keeping that in mind with what McGill has done for the team and what the team has done overall in this run of success for the Milwaukee Brewers, and not spoiling that, not getting a different reputation just because some games in April early on have not gone this team's way. Because at the end of the day, there's still a 500 team, and they're right in the thick of it in the division. There's a lot of 500 or hovering around 500 teams right now. So nothing is lost in 2026 yet. So I think that's something to keep in mind as well. Now, the booing was also brought up in the pregame press conference today that Pat Murphy held at American Family Field. And this was his discussion with the media and talking about why he said what he said and why he stuck up for McGill and is trying to stick up for his guys in a tough time.
We all got to pull together, man. Yeah, we're all pulling together here. You go through rough times, you go through ups and downs. This fan base has been unbelievable and been a big part of us. And I would mention it over and over only because it's the truth. Mm-hmm. Going through last year and being the small market team that wins the most game in professional baseball and being one level from the World Series, it's the past. But gosh darn it, it's not like we did what a lot of other teams did in the offseason. And relievers oftentimes, or position players sometimes, go through rough patches, and we're in a rough one. And we've got a ton of excuses if we want them, but we're trying to not emphasize that. But you've seen who we've got injured. And then when the back of the pen isn't doing the job, yeah. In a position the fans are like jumping on when we're in this state. Like, stop. That's not who you are. That's not the fans that the players just love and tell people this is the greatest place to play because of this.
Well, you can imagine the counterpoint is we pay it. We bought a ticket. We can do what we want.
Absolutely. And I get to be in front of the media every day. So when I'm disappointed, I'm going to probably say it. Mm-hmm.
Again, I think both people are right in that scenario, right? He's upset that the boos are coming out when they're in this state and the injuries in the state of the team right now. But on the other hand, he agrees that fans absolutely have the right to boo. He's just disappointed in the fans for doing so. And look, like I said, I think everyone can be right in this scenario. Maybe I personally wouldn't boo, but that doesn't mean someone else wouldn't, and they paid their ticket to see the game as well. I think the quote that stands out from that minute and a half from earlier this afternoon from Pat Murphy is, "We got to pull together." And I think that is a common theme that I heard from Pat Murphy throughout the pregame press conference today at American Family Field when I was down there here before the game. Just the fact that he is trying his hardest to keep everybody going the same way, because that is what is going to get them out of this thing. And I think at times it wavered maybe a little bit early in the season last year, and they were able to get the ship righted and started winning ball games, and the rest is history after about May 25th. But can that happen again this year? We'll see. There is a lot of time for this season to be made special, and for this season to be a great summer at American Family Field in Milwaukee and wherever this Brewers team goes. So I think that's something to keep in mind. Now, on the field, we'll hear more about, from Murph in a second as far as the closer role, but on the field, that closer role is what everybody is asking about. Let's first hear from Trevor McGill last night, because if you haven't heard it or haven't seen his comments after the game last night, I want to play for you. It's only a minute 25, and we talked to him last night, just like Friday night when he was out there for the rough inning against the Nationals. He was ready to talk to us right after the media got in there. Last night we talked to Jacob Mizorowski first, then we went right over to Trevor McGill, and he's been ready to meet the media. And that's kudos to him, because not everybody does that, especially in today's day and age. But we appreciated it. Now there's some swears that are bleeped out here, but listen to what Trevor McGill had to say last night, speaking to the media after the blown save.
Trevor, how do you feel mentally, just kind of how the last couple appearances have gone and you know what you're capable of?
Just some doubt out there. That's about it. Definitely way better than that. Pitches can be a lot better. Pitch execution can be a lot better. A lot of things can be better.
What about the curveball and just the consistency of that pitch?
Yeah, that could be a lot better too. Damn near everything can be right now.
You always look at velo readings,
Mhm.
and are you happy with those? And what properties of the fastball do you look at when you try to figure this out?
I mean, let's just hit spots first and go from there. Everybody can hit velo up here. Throwing 98, 97, 98. It's kind of the same velos from last season at this time. Just not executing and not getting it done right now.
When you see some of the swings that the guys are putting on the fastballs, what does your mind go to? Is it location or?
Probably location. You follow behind some counts, it's pretty easy to hit a fastball.
This team hasn't gone through something like this for a while now. What do you think just about where the team is and what you know about this group, how to pull out of it?
I know if I do a lot better in 2 games, we're in a different spot right now. So.
Is there any concern that you might be tipping off something in the pitches, or do you?
I don't know, man. We'll have to get to that tomorrow.
There's Trevor McGill last night. You know, when asked, hey, how do you think this team can pull out of it? He's like, if I would have done my job, 2 outcomes might have been different. And how, 2 innings can continue a losing streak, right? Who knows how the weekend goes if the Brewers win Friday? How good you feeling today if the Brewers win last night? So who knows? But obviously Trevor McGill not happy with how he's pitching, clearly. Puts a lot on himself, puts a lot of pressure on himself, expects a lot of himself. So it makes sense that he is upset. Now, what is Pat Murphy going to do with the closer's role? This is what he had to say before the game today about what his plan is going to be moving forward. In 3, 2, 1.
I don't think it would be one person right now. There's no this isn't about, who deserves it.
Mm-hmm.
This is about who's appropriate to win the game tonight. So it might be McGill, it might be somebody different. And quite frankly, it was that way last night. That's the way it lined up. You couldn't break their lineup a certain way. You had to take chances and risks. And one guy's faced one different guys.
But it sounds like you're not going to stay away from McGill or give him a break from that right now?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily giving Trevor McGill a break, but he is going to probably, it's going to be closer by committee, it sounds like. It sounds like, however, the lineups of the opposition are shaping up as he goes to those late innings, 7th, 8th, 9th inning. He's going to decide, okay, maybe we put McGill here. I would think that McGill does not get the next save opportunity. I would think maybe Uribe, but again, let's run down the options here, right? Okay, you think of Abner Uribe. Gave up a run last night. 5.68 ERA so far this year. How about Angel Serpa, who started the year hot, but he's got a 6 ERA now. Couple of rough outings his last 2 times out. You could go maybe a Grant Anderson, who, by the way, I had a chance to catch up with in the clubhouse today. We're going to hear that conversation here in a little while, so stay tuned for that. Really enjoyable conversation with Grant Anderson. He's maybe your best option at this point. He's pitched in some leverage spots because he's been one of the better relievers so far this season, but he had a tough 10th inning last night. Gave up 3 runs. Obviously, one of them was the ghost runner, but he has a 3.72 ERA. Aaron Ashby, but I don't think necessarily that Aaron Ashby is going to get the closer role. They really like his versatility. You like him in the middle innings. You like him to open games, right? He can do kind of whatever you want. Not that he won't close a game, but I think maybe he isn't necessarily your quintessential closer. However, if there are lefties in a lineup that the Brewers are facing and they're coming up in the 9th inning, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we do see him close a game. DL Hall has sneakily, maybe under the radar, thrown 8 and a third scoreless innings so far this year. He has not allowed an earned run. Now, he's given up runs in relief when he's come in, but they haven't been charged to his line. They've been inherited runners. But last night comes on the game pivotal point. They hit a home run off Miz. They get a single off Miz. Pat Murphy pulls Miz a little earlier than he did against Boston. Could kind of see what was going on there in that 6th inning. DL Hall comes in and gets 2 outs and gets out of it with a runner on. So I don't think DL Hall will be the closer necessarily, but an option maybe. But you can tell why this really is probably best suited for a closer by committee, at least for now, right? Put McGill in even if it's the 7th inning, it's less high leverage, right? Take the pressure off a little bit. I know we're getting suggestions, send him down to Nashville. I don't know if you necessarily do that. I get it. Boss Dobler saying send McGill down to Nashville for a week to get a change of scenery, confidence boost. It can't hurt. I mean, I don't know if it can't hurt. I don't think that's obviously going to happen. But then you just look at the other guys here, and this is why it's closer by committee, right? Is closer by committee. So I am interested to see what they do. And look, I know Boss Dobler's given all these, give Fitzpatrick a shot or anybody in Nashville. I think it's got to come from the Major League club right now. And I get the bullpen is not pitching well, but I think it's got to come from the Major League club. So we'll see. We'll see. But again, I think it is closer by committee. I think it makes sense to do that depending on how the lineups are shaking out, who's due up lefty, righty. I think that's how Pat Murphy and the team is going to decide to do things. When we come back, we are going to get into a little bit more of what Pat Murphy had to say before the game. Some interesting comments on a couple things. One, the Jackie Robinson Day today in Major League Baseball. So you'll see everybody wearing 42 tonight. What does that mean to Pat Murphy? It's pretty interesting, and it means a lot to Pat Murphy, the Jackie Robinson Day. We'll get into that. Sal Frelick is at the leadoff spot. Pat Murphy described a little bit of why he put Sal Frelick in the leadoff spot, although he has not been hot to start the season. But why he did it makes so much sense. We'll get into that in a little while. Also, Pat Murphy talks about Joey Ortiz and his swing decisions after a rough at-bat with the bases loaded last night, and just the state of the team overall. And we'll hear my conversation with Grant Anderson that I had in the clubhouse just a few hours ago. So all that coming up right here on the Baseball Pregame Show presented by Import Minded right here on Fox Sports 920. Stay tuned.
Hockey fans, we're getting you ready for the game. This is the Baseball Pregame Show with Hunter Baumgardt, presented by Import Minded, your trusted choice for exceptional vehicle care on South 27th, just north of 894.
Welcome back. Getting you set for Brewers and Blue Jays this evening on Fox Sports 920 AM, WOKY Milwaukee, all of our social media channels as well. Want to hear from you on the NicoletLaw.com talking text line at 877-794-1973. And want to hear from you there. So let's get to some comments here on the stream coming in. First of all, Mike, appreciate the kind words. Mike says, why is Tyler Black not being called up? Unfortunately, he is hurt right now, or I think he'd definitely be in the major leagues right now. Unfortunately, just a poor timing of injury there. Mike also says, we paid, we can boo. Hey, I get it. I'm not saying you can't. It's about, to me, it's about whether you should or whether you, as a fan, if that's part of what you want to do as a fan, that's your choice. Let's see. Charles says McGill definitely needs to get something straight upstairs, he'd imagine, saying maybe it's a mental thing for McGill. Yeah, I think it's mental. I think it's physical. And I think it's kind of everything right now for Trevor McGill. Let's see here. Charles says maybe they'll have a 4 or 5 run lead late in the game and not even need high leverage innings. That's a really good point, Charles. That would be fantastic. You would love to see that happen and, throw Jake Woodford or an Easton McGee out there late in the ball game. That would be good. Let's see here. And also Charles says, please, please, please win today, Brewers. Something has to give. I know. It's not really easy to lose 6 in a row. You got to have some heartbreakers, and boy, have they had some heartbreakers. Want to hear from you. Really appreciate all the comments coming in. So we shall see. I really appreciate the interaction that we've had on the pregame show. Remember, no pregame show tomorrow, but we will be talking tomorrow because from 6 to 7 tomorrow, we'll have Milwaukee Baseball Tonight right here on Fox Sports 920 and on these same social channels. So 6 to 7 tomorrow. We'll recap the series finale tomorrow afternoon. We'll talk about kind of what's ahead for the Brewers. We'll hear from, Pat Murphy's post-game comments. Tomorrow will be kind of like a post-game show-ish type of show from 6 to 7. So I'm looking forward to that. We'll kind of recap the game that was, I'll give you some sound from Pat Murphy in the clubhouse, no matter what happens. And so looking forward to that. So I'll be at the ballpark tomorrow, and then we'll have the show at 6 o'clock tomorrow evening. All right. Speaking of being in the clubhouse, I was there this afternoon and had a chance to catch up with one of the relievers that's been a bright spot so far this season. That is Grant Anderson. Here is my conversation in the clubhouse this afternoon with Grant.
Grant, thanks so much for joining me. First, obviously, for a lot of your outings, you've gotten the results you probably have wanted, right? What has been leading to some of the success out there on the field so far this season?
I think execution, stuff's going to be the same stuff most nights, But when you can command the strike zone and throw your fastball for strikes and off speed for strikes, it goes a long way.
How much does your confidence build up, right? Outing after outing, you're seeing results coming in different scenarios whenever you're called upon. I'm sure that probably builds confidence as you go.
Yeah, getting the 0 always builds the confidence. So, to me, situation's not really, I just pitch when Pat tells me to pitch, basically. So, but yeah, anytime you can throw up a 0, it builds confidence for sure.
Obviously, you're paying attention to the situation you're coming in, but overall, how does your mentality, do you just try to keep it the same, whatever situation you're coming into, just your job, get outs when you're called upon?
Yeah, whatever the situation, obviously, we're paying attention down there in the bullpen, and Greeny, bullpen coach, is always, when you're warming up, he keeps you updated on, what the count is, who's on deck, who you're going to face, where you can go with what pitches and whatnot, and that obviously helps a ton. And then other than that, go out there and kind of hold the line for the next guy.
When you take us a little bit behind the scenes in that, so you're warming up, obviously, to come in the game, and he's relaying that information kind of consistently. Okay, this is where, you might come in, this is, those kinds of things?
Yeah, basically you're warming up, and you already kind of have an idea when they call down, they kind of let you know, like, hey, possibly this guy or this guy, and he kind of gives you a brief summary of, like, where your stuff will play to that guy, and also what the possible, like, if there's 3 righties in a row, chances are one of them is going to get pinch hit for a lefty, and so he kind of tells you who his best guess of you know, what lefty is going to come in to face you, and what same deal where you can kind of go with what pitches and, you know, best chance to get them out.
How about the situation of the extra inning that you come into last night, right? You got a runner on second already. How does that change your mindset? Like, what's your kind of strategy? Obviously, getting outs is the goal, but what's your strategy there as that has come more and become a part of baseball here in the last few years?
For me, I mean, the strategy doesn't really change as much. You know, you still want to get ahead, obviously, but I think if you can get the first guy out, it's a huge. You know, obviously last night didn't work in my favor. Threw 2 balls down the middle, so, but I feel like if you get that first guy out, you kind of give yourself some wiggle room, you know, because then you get 1 out. You know, if let's say they want to walk a guy or you want to kind of pitch around a guy, still have a double play in order, get you out of the inning with that. So to me, you know, strike 1 and then out number 1 are probably the 2 most important parts of that.
Absolutely. So coming off an outing like last night, how have you learned over the years to just kind of shake it off and come out the next time?
Part of the job, man. Some days are going to be great and some days are going to be not so great, and you just got to kind of roll with it, man. You don't ever get too high, don't ever get too low. Obviously played with some veteran guys in the past and here that kind of, when you're a younger guy, they kind of help you out, you know, with you tend to hang on to stuff when you first get up here. You know, you can kind of see it in some young guys across the league. You kind of tell they're still, like, trying to force this outing to be good because last outing was bad, which I myself did, and it's just something you got to kind of learn as you play a little more, get more innings under your belt that, you know, you can't do that, otherwise it's going to be just as bad as the day before. So let it go, and each day's a new day, each inning's a new inning, and I could face the same 3 guys tonight and have a completely different outcome, so it's just part of it.
Was there a point where that kind of clicked for you, or was it just kind of over time and just kind of like, okay, you know, I kind of understand and see what others are doing and see how, and just felt more confident coming out the next time?
I think confidence plays a big part in it, but more so getting more outings under your belt, kind of, I guess you kind of learn from that, you know, experience. You know, it's one of the things you hear about a lot. You know, teams want guys with experience, but how do you get experience? And is just the more innings you pitch, the more you're gonna get it, and the more you're gonna learn. So, obviously, you know, my rookie year I had like Will Smith, and then I had David Robertson and Kirby Yates the next 2 years. So, that's 3 guys that was great to learn from, and Aroldis Chapman was another one that was like, you know, guys failed on the biggest level. You know, all 4 of those guys have been in World Series and have done great and done bad, and so, you know, you learn from those guys, and you kind of hang on to what they say, and then you obviously, when it happens to you, you kind of say, oh yeah, now I know what they mean, you know. So it's just something that kind of happens over experience, you know.
Totally, and especially in the bullpen, you guys spend so much time there getting ready, preparing for situations. I can imagine you kind of can soak up a lot of information out there when you're in there.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever play on teams with guys that have played as long as those 4 guys played, you know, you'd be kind of doing yourself a disservice not to learn something from it. So I try to learn from everybody I've played with, whether it be, you know, Max on the Blue Jays now, or, you know, Big Woo here, and guys like that. So Quintana last year was another one. You know, guys played, I think, on year 17 this year. So, like, you know, if you don't learn something from those guys, you kind of, you know, you're not doing yourself any favors.
I think people think sometimes maybe that relievers learn from relievers, or really, but, you know, you named a couple, obviously, you know, starters there. You can learn from any pitcher, I can imagine, who's done it for a long time.
Correct. I mean, yeah, you know, the thing about the guys like that too is, like, at some point in their career they probably pitched out of the bullpen, and whether it was in the playoffs, you know, like a Big Woo pitched out of the playoffs here, bullpen, I think on short rest here a few times, you know. So, you know, they're still on the mound, they're still facing guys in tough situations, whether they started the game or came in the middle of it. That really doesn't matter as much, but it's just getting the knowledge from those guys that's important.
Absolutely. Grant, really appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
No problem, man. Thank you.
There he is. That is Grant Anderson, reliever for your Milwaukee Brewers. Thought that was a fun conversation, just going into the preparation, number one, of being in the bullpen. And, okay, my number's about to be called. Who might I face? Charlie Greene, one of the best at it, getting his guys ready. Part of that, you know, whole staff that the Brewers have that has led to so much success. And I think some of that is definitely credited to Charlie Greene, getting him ready. And obviously, when Pat Murphy, sends the call down, it's okay, we're thinking of this guy for probably this guy. And then you can also look at the lineup and guess a little bit. But Charlie Greene is right on it. And then also Grant Anderson talking about the different guys he's learned from. Think about the types of pitchers and the caliber of pitchers that he's talking about there. You got the Aroldis Chapmans, the Will Smiths, obviously, like you mentioned, the Kirby Yateses of the world. Like there are many, Max Scherzer, a starter, Big Woo, Quintana last year, just picking their brain. And it's like I said, it feels like a lot of the times relievers would probably pick the brains of other relievers, but that's not always the case, right? You can learn something from any pitcher. So really appreciated Grant's openness and his time here this afternoon. Fun conversation with him. All right, let's get back to what Pat Murphy had to say this afternoon. This is him talking about kind of the state of the team and you know how he's kind of trying to rally the troops at this point right now amidst a 6-game losing streak.
No, it's just a great opportunity to test yourself. You know, it's a great thing to go through. It really is. It's a great opportunity. How are you going to respond? How are you going to show your character? How are you going to, get through it when it hurts you at such a deep level? But it is not about me. I'm thinking about how it hurts them. Whenever I hurt, I think about it. Wait, is this about you? It's not about you. Those guys need you. It's a lot of new players too, relatively speaking. Everybody's like, well, they got everybody back. No, we got guys injured, and we got a lot of new guys, and there's a lot of change, and then the unpredictability sometime of bullpens. And there you go. So it's a great test. But my thoughts are with my players right now. Just how did Terrain came in here earlier? It's like, what do you need, Skip? What do you need? I'm like, you to just control what you can control and nothing more. I'll try to do more.
How about that? Bryce Terrain coming into his office earlier today saying, what do you need? Like, what can I do? And Murph's like, don't try to force anything, because boy, Terrain he's gotten on base in every single game that he has played this year. I mean, that is really good. Like really good. I think he's 14 starts now for the Brewers. He missed 2 games. Yeah. 16 games so far, 14 for Terrain, and he's gotten on base in all of them. Had a great night again last night, contributing in every way possible. Offense, defense, everything. Base running, stealing bases, the whole deal. Bryce Terrain has it, and you hear the type of guy that he is too, asking, Murph, what can I do? And one of the things that Pat Murphy says frequently to us in the media is, it's not about me. That's a very common refrain from Brewers manager Pat Murphy that we hear a lot. And that was repeated there, saying, look, I just hurt for my players, right? When I think about how much I'm hurting, I think about how much they're hurting, right? Those are the guys that are on the field doing it every single day, and trying to will this team to get back on track. And Murph is obviously doing everything in his power to do that as well. But, he cares a lot about his guys. There's no doubt about it. Obviously sticking up for McGill is an example of that last night, but just, yeah, it seems as though, and obviously the success on the field has bared this out, but it seems as though he's quite a good leader as manager of the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, today, as I mentioned, Jackie Robinson Day across Major League Baseball, with all players, managers, and coaches once again wearing number 42, with all teams donning the Dodger blue 42 jersey numbers regardless of their primary colors. Also, players, coaches, managers, and umpires will have a 42 patch on the side of their caps today. Jackie Robinson made his historic Major League debut this day in 1947, breaking baseball's color barrier. So today is Jackie Robinson Day. What does that mean to Brewers manager Pat Murphy? It means a lot. So take a listen to his comments about Jackie Robinson Day.
I think it's incredible. I think the story of it. Think about how many of our kids or nephews or nieces or whoever in the room has young people has done a report on Jackie Robinson. I'll bet you there's more than 5 in this room that have someone in their life that's done it, because he is an icon, what he went through, and it represents so much more, in our country. So I think to have the powers to be, to take this day and make it something special says a lot about the character of, the game. And I think it's awesome. And I'm very, very conscious. People that know me close know that one of my passions in life is African Americans in baseball. When I grew up, my favorite players were all African American, and my brothers would make note of it, like, why is that? And I don't know why it was, and I've always had a passion. There was a time in my college career where I was going to go to a historically black college and try to coach. And I approached the president of one of those universities. I won't name, will keep from telling you who it is to protect them, and went to him and said, I'll leave Arizona State right now and I will go to your university if you support baseball. And I won't have to take a salary. I just want to do it. And I started to think about that makes it about me a little bit. And so I didn't do it. Because I felt like, well, then are you going to make yourself a big story? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I want to do that. So
there you go. Another example of him, trying to take that spotlight off of him. Then he always did it when he was succeeding last year. So, that he walks the walk and talks the talk. I mean, last year he consistently did not want to talk about himself and how he has done successfully at the major league level his first 2 seasons. But I thought I left that story in there. Obviously, he talks about the impact that Jackie Robinson had, but then also that story, that second half of that he was going to go to that university and because he wanted to be involved in it. And this is obviously a significant day, not only in baseball, but the country's history as well, and what it meant for sports and what it meant for baseball and what it meant for the entire country. So definitely a meaningful day around baseball, and looking forward to seeing those 42 jerseys on the field tonight. Joey Ortiz last night. That's quite a pivot here, but that's exactly what we did in the pregame press conference. Kurt Hogue of the Journal Sentinel saying, we're going to pivot here, if you will allow me. And we pivoted to Joey Ortiz, who struck out on 3 pitches last night with the bases loaded. Again, here is Pat Murphy talking about the swing decisions of Joey and how they go about trying to fix it.
every day. It's not something that changes overnight. It's slow. We realize he's had some offensive struggles, and we're trying like heck, and he's trying like heck. And he still goes out and plays incredible defense and handles the ball like incredibly well. So I'm going to keep supporting him.
And that's what Pat Murphy does with his players. I'll tell you, though, boy, it's like just the difference between offense and defense with Joey Ortiz. Again, the defense, like he said, is just sensational over there at shortstop. He's one of the best defensively in the game. But how long can you put up with that offense in that lineup? Now, it's just unbelievable how many times he has come up with the bases loaded. Like, it is unbelievable. Like last night, of course, he comes up with the bases loaded with a chance to win the game. And he comes up with that. He has not done a lot with that. He strikes out a fair amount in that scenario. So that's just been the tough part about Joey. Now, he started the year a little hot, right? First 5, 6, 7 games or so, but he has come down since then. And again, it's all about the timeline. How long of a leash are you giving him? I said coming into the year, I think they would give him at least a couple of months. So obviously they then signed Cooper Pratt. Do I think Cooper Pratt could be up here earlier than anticipated before he signed the extension? Yes. But do I think that's April or May? I don't really. I just don't. And I know some people are saying, just let him go out there and learn. And there is part of that. But the other part to that is, let him get some footing in AAA, because he's hardly played even in AAA. And if he's struggling a bit like he is offensively at AAA right now, Major Leagues is a whole other ball game too. But then the other side of that is, well, he can't be much worse than what Joey Ortiz is giving you offensively. And then I'm like, well, I know. But defensively, then you go down. So if you're degrading defensively and he's not giving you any more offensively, then not a great, obviously not a great trade-off. So we'll see where that goes. Sal Frelick is in the leadoff spot tonight. We're going to take a quick break. If we have a chance, I think we'll have time when we come back to play this quote about Sal Frelick and why he's in the leadoff spot and why Pat Murphy still believes in him despite having a tough start to the season. And Sal Frelick was on base 3 times last night. Getting it set for Brewers and Blue Jays. Brewers 8-8, Blue Jays 7-9, 6:40 first pitch at American Family Field. Wrap things up on the baseball pregame show presented by Import Minded next here on Fox Sports 920.
Milwaukee takes the field in a matter of minutes. It's time to take a look at tonight's lineup on the Baseball Pregame Show, presented by Import Minded, your trusted choice for exceptional vehicle care on South 27th, just north of 894. Here's Hunter Baumgardt.
Brewers and Blue Jays, game 2 of this 3-game series. The finale is tomorrow, 12:40 first pitch. Chad Patrick on the mound tonight for the Milwaukee Brewers, 1-0 with a 0.73 ERA. Dylan Cease on the mound for the Toronto Blue Jays, no record, 2.45 ERA. And as we do at the end of each show, we give you the lineup. And I want to give you what Pat Murphy said about the lineup, and specifically about Sal Frelick. Now, Sal Frelick has not had a hot start to the season in 2026. We all know that. However, Pat Murphy still believes in him because of the type of player that Sal is. And why did Pat Murphy put him in the leadoff spot last night? And why is he putting him again in the leadoff spot tonight? Here is some of that answer. First, talking about why he still believes in Sal and kind of the person and athlete and player that Sal is. And then it goes into why he put Sal Frelick in that leadoff spot. So I think this is a great insight into the type of player Sal is. So take a listen to what Pat Murphy had to say.
Yeah, I think he's the first to try to do too much. It's innate in him. It's like he can almost smile at himself like, what am I doing? You know what I mean? But he just wants it so bad. He cares so much. He's so passionate about competing and winning. One of the best I've been around. I mean, he's got to when it's not going your way, it's hard to be relaxed about it for a kid like him. And he's got to learn to just kind of do a little less, be a little more precise. A kid that like him that wants it so badly, he gets going and he's going to try to make it happen right now. And he doesn't look to kind of like have a perspective on the way what's going on. That's why I put him leadoff last year. Because I didn't put him leadoff because he's smashing the ball. I put him leadoff because I think he can get on base for us. And he did just that. It didn't look any prettier than it's looked, but he got on base for us. And that little reminder, that's how he works. And he's a responsibility guy. One of the greatest attributes of this guy is he's a winning player. And winning players know what's needed. When he's batting seventh sometimes, God, they want me to get on base. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, what does it call for? I think it's easier for him to know what you got to tell him. Sal, run the option. Sal, we're going to run the shotgun, quarterback draw. You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Two things about that. One is obviously Pat Murphy, another example of him knowing his player, right? Knowing the type of player that Sal is and what it would do to put him in the leadoff spot. And also, I've been seeing a lot of discourse online and callers and whatnot. People I've talked to have said, why is Sal batting seventh? Why is he so far down in the order? And Pat Murphy kind of admits there that that might not be the best place for him. And he was kind of bouncing. I haven't looked at the numbers, but he was bouncing in that 5-6 range last season, did some time in the leadoff spot. And that's honestly where he's performed pretty much the best. I'll have to go back and look at the split specifically, but he flourished in that role last year. I asked Pat Murphy just after that if we're going to see more of Sal Frelick in the leadoff spot. And he said, yeah, we're going to see more. And I like that. Now, I also wish Yelich, Churio, and Vaughn were also in the lineup, but Sal Frelick being in the leadoff spot, if that's, part of the consequence here, I don't mind it. So, again, Frelick, Contreras, Turang, Sanchez, Bowers, Lockridge, Mitchell, Ortiz, Hamilton. So same lineup as last night, but Lockridge instead of Matos. That is going to do it for the Baseball Pregame Show presented by Import Minded. Once again, we'll be on the air tomorrow, 6 until 7, talking Brewers. Tomorrow night, I'll also join the guys tomorrow morning at 7:25 a.m. on The Huddle. Make sure you're tuning in to Drew, Billy, and Armin each and every weekday from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. on right where you're watching or listening to this. Really appreciate it, and see if the Brewers can snap the streak tonight, huh? They've got tonight and tomorrow against the Blue Jays. Thanks so much for listening. It's been the Baseball Pregame Show presented by Import Minded right here on Fox Sports 920.